Welcome to the Kingsburg Community Church podcast, Thinking About Faith. We pray that this podcast helps you deepen your faith in God and stir some inner thoughts about the Christian life.
Hi, this is Pastor Ed, and welcome to the KCC podcast, Thinking About Faith. We're concluding our series today in the Proverbs, talking about uncommon sense, just the good advice and the warnings that come from the wisdom literature, how to avoid the traps in life, and how to become competent with regard to the realities of life. I stole that from Pastor Timothy Keller. Wisdom is competence with regard to the realities of life. Last week, we talked about 2 financial traps to avoid that Proverbs talks about. And today I want to talk about 2 financial best practices, things that I've seen people practice over the long haul of their life, and it has been very good for them. It's helped them avoid those financial traps, and they've gotten to the point of being able to really be carefree in their later years when it comes to finances. The first has to do with the importance of planning financially. Make plans to succeed. If you don't plan, somebody used to say, if you're not aiming at a target, it's impossible to hit it. So having a target, a plan, an idea of what you're trying to achieve. And Proverbs is big on planning. Proverbs 21:5, the plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. Some people are impulsive. That's just the way they live their life. I always counsel them, if you're an impulsive person, never buy anything sizable, anything that's over a couple $100 without waiting and sleeping on it overnight. Because tomorrow morning you might decide, I don't need that, or I don't want that, or maybe I don't need that expensive of a car. Maybe I was just falling for a clever salesperson. Don't be hasty. Hasty leads to poverty. Have a plan beforehand. Proverbs 27:23. This sounds like it's only to shepherds, but it really, I think you'll see the principle applies to all of us. It says, be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds. So your flocks and your herds back 3,000 years ago, that was your income and that was your sustenance. That was your source of wealth. You were as wealthy as your livestock. In fact, it's still true in parts of the developing world where a person's wealth is counted in the number of cows or the number of sheep or the number of camels that they have. And this says, be sure to know the condition of your flocks. In other words, how is your financial life? How is your employment situation? Goodness grief. The last 20 years have taught us anything. It's that we always need to have our resume ready. Because unexpected things can happen. In fact, I'm praying for one of my kids who's looking for a job right now because there's a minor recession with all the financial uncertainties that's happening in our world. People are nervous. People are not spending as much. And so because of that, his entire department got laid off and he's looking around for a job. And this isn't a great time. So we're praying, Gretchen and I are praying, oh God, open a door for a good job. Having plans, what are you going to do if that happens? And of course, planning about your money, your savings. Where do you spend your money? Do you know? Is it leaking out? I was just reading an article this morning that introduced me to a new word. It is the word treatonomics. Treatonomics refers to everyday indulgences in luxury items as a reaction to economic stress. So you have a car, it's breaking down, it needs to be replaced, you can't afford a new car. So to get yourself over the stress of what, your car is unreliable, you go out and you buy yourself a pizza instead of eating at home. You can't afford a big purchase for the kids, so you spend $10 on a coffee drink for your kid and take it to them when you pick them up at school. Concert tickets. This article referred to concert tickets, makeup, collectibles, and lots of stuff for the kids as part of treatonomics, that people feel frustrated, they feel insecure, they feel stress about their finances, they can't do anything big. And so they do a lot of little things, but bit by bit, those little things accumulate, don't they? Over time, $10 here and $10 there becomes significant. Now, if you track your spending, you might be surprised at how much is going to things that really aren't important to you after about 15 minutes. So you consume that Starbucks drink and then you don't even think about it. I had a friend years ago who, Christian friend, who decided to quit smoking. He knew it wasn't healthy for him. His family put their health at risk, and it was getting more expensive. And so he decided he quit, and he decided as motivation that he would stop putting the money he would have used to buy cigarettes every day into a jar. Do you know, within a year, he was able to take his family to Disneyland for a couple of days with the money that he saved from not buying cigarettes. And the principle pertains. Instead of that, pack-a-day habit or 2-pack-a-day habit, whatever it was, he had the joy of taking I think he had 2 young kids at the time, his family to Disneyland for a holiday that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to afford. And I'll bet at that moment, all the difficulty, the pain, the missing a cigarette, the withdrawal from that addiction, it was all worth it when he was able to take his family to Disneyland. So to track your spending, it's a little bit more sophisticated than putting money in a jar. But I think it's also very rewarding because you can see where your money's going and you can make decisions about whether those really fit your overall priorities. There are a number of free online systems that you can use. I know some people use Mint. There's a website called YNAB, which stands for You Need a Budget. Pocket Guard, Quicken, Simplify, and Good Budget were all I asked AI, and AI told me that these would be good places to track your spending. How can you fix something if you don't know where the problem is? What you can measure, you can change. If you can't measure it, you can't change it. So the first thing to do is to not change your spending habits, but just to track where every dollar goes. You may be surprised at how much you're spending going out to dinner, or how much you're spending on buying stuff for the kids that they don't really need, or how much you're spending on being bored and, going to Target and buying clothes that end up at Caps 2 months later. Once you've figured out where you're spending, then you make a plan according to your goals. Do you really want to spend that much money on clothing? Do you really want to spend that much money on your car? Maybe you need to switch. You look at how much you spend on gas a month and you think, ooh, maybe it's time to get rid of the gas guzzler and get, a hybrid or something like that. It's only once that you know what you're spending your money on that you can make decisions about what you would like to spend your money on. Maybe you decide to cut down on treats by 25%. So you still have treats in your life, but you save the 25%, at least as a start. Maybe that eases some of the frustration on as you see the credit card bills go down. Maybe you decide that you want to eat in more often, or you want to, go to get a Costco pizza or a hot and ready pizza, which is cheaper than going to Me and Ed's. Substitute something's cheaper for something's more expensive. Maybe you want to pay off credit cards or increase your savings or add to your 401k or build up the rainy day fund that you've always felt you wanted to have. When you succeed in reaching your goal, think about how good you're going to feel once the credit card is paid off or once you're able to max your 401k or once you have 4 months of expenses in the bank, so you don't have to, having the washer break isn't an existential crisis. It's a momentary pain, but it doesn't throw you off balance. Won't that be worth cutting down on the little luxuries that you don't really need? I think it probably will. So the first thing you do when you plan is figure out where you're spending your money and then make a budget and stick to it. I tell some people need to put their credit card in the freezer. So that means, and by the way, don't ever put your credit card on your phone because it makes it too easy to spend on it. But, if you're in credit card debt, put it, take a bowl, fill it full of water, put your credit card in it, and freeze it solid. So before you can use your credit card, you have to thaw the ice. It gives you a cooling off period to say, do I really need this to go through this much trouble to get it? And other people need to resort to help from another appliance, and that's the oven. If you're really in credit card debt, put your credit card on a cookie sheet with some aluminum foil under it and stick it in the oven at 350 degrees and just melt that sucker down because you don't really need a credit card. Or maybe you need to keep it open, but you need to not use it until it's paid off. Make that plan, stick to it, and experience financial freedom. It's a great thing to have. Okay, the second principle I want to talk about best financial practices is to be generous. Now, that may sound like it's the opposite of having a plan. Wait a minute, you just told me that I shouldn't, go through the Starbucks drive-through, but I should be generous. It's a biblical principle. Proverbs 11:25 says, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." Proverbs 19:17 says, "Whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will reward them." I can't tell you, I'm an accountant. The debits and credits to this, in fact, don't work out. The money that you spend being generous to a missionary is money you can't spend to reduce your credit card debt. All I know is that it just works. Whether that's because when you give more to the church or to a missionary, it makes you more self-disciplined in the other areas, whether that's because it makes you more reliant on God, and God honors the one who honors him. So you start tithing and you're honoring God first, and somehow God just blesses you with an abundance. We do faith promise here at KCC, that believing that God is going to provide money we weren't expecting in order to pay our faith promises. And I've just seen it happen too many times. And I don't think it's a matter of financial sense. I think it's a matter of God's blessing. And so it's a weird thing. It just works. I think another side effect that's good is it helps us control out of control desires and materialism. When you're writing that check that says to yourself and to God and to your missionary friend, I care more about what you're doing to expand the kingdom of God than I care about a treat for myself or going out to eat, that is something that will enrich your spiritual life and will also get you free of the notion that you have to go out and eat. When you see it as, well, we're not going to go out to eat because we're going to take that money and we're going to send it to missionary and that's going to do some great stuff, then you do it with a willing heart, not with a grudging heart. I always recommend tithing, although tithing is not a law in the Bible. It's a law in the Old Testament. We're not under the Old Testament law. We're not under the dietary law. We're not under the laws of sacrifice. Unfortunately, for people who are looking for a loophole to tithing, the New Testament actually makes it worse, because Jesus says that it's not the tithe that belongs to the Lord. It's everything that belongs to the Lord, and we're just stewards of it. And so I recommend tithing as a concrete way of demonstrating our understanding that all of our wealth belongs to the Lord, not just 10%. I always suggest to modern people that they don't go from 0 to 100 in one moment. Very few people are able to do that. If you haven't been tithing and you try to tithe, the fact that you've organized your life around spending that 10% probably means that you're going to quit your new idea, your conviction, your desire to tithe, and then you'll feel a failure for it, and then you'll feel burdened because of that, and you won't want to try it again. So instead, I always counsel people to first, again, go back to my last point, find out how much you're spending. How much are you actually giving to the Lord's work? And once you figure out the percentage, increase it to the next increment of 2%. So if you're giving 0.5%, increase to 2%. That will not kill you. It will make you alter some things in your financial makeup, but it won't kill you. If you're at 3%, go to 4%. And then every year, make it an effort to increase from 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 to 10. So you see, this is a long-term 5-year goal to become a tither, 10% giver, which is what a tithe is. It's a tenth, but it's going to take you 5 years, and that will give you time to readjust to pay off the credit card. So you're not paying the bank 20% interest, and that frees up money that you can give in a tithe to reorder your habits, buy a car with better gas mileage, so you're not spending that much money on gas mileage. Shop around for a different cell phone plan, buy cheaper cell phones, or whatever it is to reduce your expenses, which will allow you to tithe. And I will make you this guarantee: if you have not been tithing, but you do this and stick to it for 5 years, at the end of 5 years, you will find out that it's your financial life is less complicated and less stressful after becoming a tither than it was before you were ever thinking about tithing. It's just a biblical principle. I can't explain it. I just think that God honors the one who honors him. And I've seen it happen dozens and dozens and dozens of times. So you might want to think about doing that. Talk to your spouse if you're married. Make that commitment to God. I'm so glad that Gretchen and I started tithing. Well, I started tithing in college, which was ridiculous because the outgo was more than the income. But my friend who was telling me that I ought to think about tithing said, as soon as you graduate, you're going to have plenty of zeros behind what you make now. Is it going to be harder to write a check now when you're making $300 a month and it's $30, or then when you're making, $1,500 a month and it's $150? And that made sense to me. So I started tithing then. When Gretchen and I got married, she had her first job. We started tithing. So it was never really hard because we never got used to spending that tithe money on other stuff in life. And so I guarantee you that if you want to bring order to your financial life, it's a good practice. Okay, thanks for listening. We are done now with our series in God's Wisdom. We're going to be going another direction next week, but I don't know what that is yet. So stay tuned, and we will continue to bring you some interesting thoughts about God and His kingdom and about our faith. So thanks for listening. And if you have any suggestions, I'm starting a new series, so please let me know. Thank you. Bye.